Hello, hello, hello. Welcome in right here. You already know Fantasy Life on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. Kendall, Valenzuela, Adam Ronis with you for the next couple hours, breaking down all the good stuff, Adam. We've got news, we've got good news, we've got some not great news, and we're going to go through our favorite picks by round. We've got some quarterback tiers to go through, and everything is live at fantasylife.com. And you can use that promo code SXM20, gets you 20% off any Fantasy Life Plus subscription. How you doing? How was your weekend?
I'm doing well. I just heard a promo code. That's always good. Looking to save
Yes.
money. So people need to go out there and take advantage of that because you're going to need all the information, tools to help you win. There's a lot going on right now. We are in the middle of it. News is
We
breaking
are
every day. Rankings are adjusted. And it's just that time of year. We're not even into August yet. That is Friday. But
crazy, by the
yeah,
way. I can't
it's
believe
draft
that.
time. It really is, and you got to remember that everything is going to change so much with all
Mhm.
these injuries and news that you really have to be on top of things at this time of year. I know some people start late, but if you have, now is the time. It's time to get in shape. You know that
Mhm.
it's going to be a marathon this season, and we've already had so many things happen, and pads are like just starting to get on, and we've already had a lot. I mean, I've had to change my rankings already
Oh yeah.
in a big way. So, make sure you head over to fantasylife.com because there's so much information there, so many articles, and you don't want to fall behind. That's the biggest thing. You just don't want to fall behind. You need to be on top of things. It's so important. Just the slightest bit of information tweaking can be the difference between having a winning team and one that's mediocre.
And it's really easy to fall behind too. There's just so much going on. So, day in, day out, there's some things that we always say don't overreact. Like we have to wait with Matthew Stafford, see what that's going to look like. They told us that was part of the plan. But if you're just reading a headline and you say, "Oh no, Matthew Stafford is not throwing, it's not looking good." You just gotta one, make sure just read the whole article first of all. And then yeah, just make sure you stay on top of it because you're right. It's time to lock in. We're like days away, like you said, from August. A lot of drafts coming up. I got a notification this morning, Adam. It said your team is drafting in 7 days. I said, which one? Don't know which one we're talking about right now. I'm in a super flex slow draft. Been getting sniped left and right. Oh, it happened to me. What do we tell people always? Look at the players, look at the teams ahead of you, and then base your next picks off what they've already done. So where am I? I'm at five. I believe, yeah, fifth pick or something like that. Everyone has their second quarterbacks. Why, in that case, Adam, would I draft a quarterback? Why would I draft another quarterback right now when I know everyone has their second quarterbacks? No, wrong. We've got people drafting their third in the ninth round. Oh,
Wait, that's
bugs
super
me.
flex though, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. Yeah. No, I've learned that over the years too in these super flex leagues. There's always a group of people who are aggressive on that third
they are.
quarterback. Yeah. I think the ninth round for me is too early, unless your entire starting lineup is filled. Even then, I'm still reluctant to do it. It also depends on the pair of quarterbacks I have. But that's the reason why I often miss out on a third quarterback in a super flex league. A lot of years, I only leave with two, which can be dicey because if one of those guys underperforms, see CJ Stroud last year, not that I had him, or someone gets hurt, you could be in a little bit of trouble. Last year, I was fortunate in that Superflex league that I do, the Flex Draft, which is this weekend. Although I'm not in the Superflex league this year, I'll be in the one quarterback league. That last year I came away with three, and it worked out because
Yep.
the third one was Sam Darnold. So yeah, you have to know that there's always going to be a few managers in the league that are going to be aggressive on their third quarterback. And that's where you need to sit back and go, okay, am I going to get my second one a little quickly because other people are going to get their third, or do I sit back and wait? So looks like you got caught up a little bit.
Yeah, I got caught up. I was getting greedy, Adam. Sometimes you look around and you say, "Well, wait a second. What if I could get what if I could get one more good player for my flex?" That's always what I look at, and that's something I I always just have to, we have things that we just have to not necessarily get better at, but just things that I love to do, and I'd love to make sure to get some of those, really good wide receivers. And I was looking at Matthew Golden. I said, "Oh, Matthew Golden in my flex. I kind of love that." So, yeah, I got caught up a little bit, but that's okay. We're gonna bounce back. We're gonna find the deep sleepers, the Bryce Youngs of the world,
Yeah,
and he'll be
exactly.
on my
Look,
team.
they always emerge every year. I mean,
They
last year
do.
there were several. Last year, Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Bo Nix. And
Yeah,
there might be a couple that come off waivers too. There usually is. So it's the key is finding the right one. It's easy to say, I'm going to wait until the final
exactly.
rounds and get a quarterback. Can you get the right one? And there have been years where I've been able to do it. The year Jordan Love had his big year, I waited and got him as my second quarterback. That worked out well. Uh, Last year, Will Levis was my second, but thank
It's
goodness for
okay.
Sam Darnold. So it's about finding the right ones. And there will be a couple that emerge off waivers.
For
Some of the
sure.
top backups are taken, but not all of them. And you just have to be cognizant of that and maybe jump a little early on the waiver wire. Maybe there's a week where you have a hole to fill and there's like no skill position player that stands out. You go and grab a backup quarterback and maybe they become a starter the following week or the next 2 weeks. So, yeah, there's different ways to attack those super flex leagues, but you got to remember there are always going to be a few that are very aggressive on the third quarterback. I see it in every super flex league
Every
I'm in.
time. Every time. But sometimes, Adam, I just look and I say, well, that won't happen to me. I see it all the time. But of course, in this draft, it'll be different. Wrong. Don't do, or do what I'm doing. I don't really care because I'm still feeling like I'm in a good place. But it's always so funny where I'm like, that won't happen here. Just kidding. It totally will. And like you said, there's going to be quarterback, there's going to be everyone on the waiver wire. I've got an article I've already know scheduled to come out the week before the season kicks off of just like, hey, waiver wire moves that you can make. Like that's how early we're going to be talking about that. Guys you can pick up because from now until a couple weeks when it's week one, you are going to be making moves like that because we're drafting early. Things happen. And one of those things, a lot of things actually kind of happened over the weekend, Adam. So let's get into the news here. Let's start with Joe Mixon. Let's go to Joe Mixon with the Houston Texans. So there was a report out there that he is now expected to miss extended time with his foot injury. So this is an interesting situation, Adam, because at the time that they went out and got Nick Chubb, I thought to myself, okay, not necessarily a need, but this could be all right if Joe Mixon went down. We saw him a little bit banged up last season, and last season towards the end of the year for Joe Mixon, he had a really tough playoff schedule for fantasy. So we kind of knew maybe if you were able to move away from him, it would be better. But Joe Mixon is now on the non-football injury list per Ian Rappaport, is expected to be out with an extended period of time with a frustrating foot injury. So this is one where he's going to be evaluated again closer to the start of the season. Never good news though to already have someone who's a little bit older who we know has been banged up time and time again. So with Joe Mixon now potentially, missing some time, what are you looking at in this backfield? Is Nick Chubb now someone that you're saying, hey, he could actually, get a ton of the workload?
No, I actually don't want any part of this backfield. It's easy to push Nick Chubb up and think, here we go. So, yeah, will you move him up your draft board? Sure. But to expect him to be what he was is just unrealistic. So, they have Woody Marks, who they drafted, Damian Pierce. I just think this becomes more of a pass heavy team. And we saw CJ Stroud 2 years ago, what he could do. And he's very cheap. We've talked about it. And I haven't
Hmm.
drafted him yet, but I think they're going to put more on his shoulders now. This thing with Mixon, this goes back to what I say all the time. Do you remember what happened during the offseason? Yeah, Mixon's dealing with this ankle, but he should be ready for training camp now. Oh, we hope he's ready for week one. Do you see how these injuries sometimes we don't get all the information and the timetable gets pushed back? It happens all the time with these injured players, and people go out there and they have this optimism that everything's going to turn around. It's going to be fine. I'm going to draft this guy and he's going to be ready. So, personally, I don't like to see this because I was completely off Mixon. So now that puts
Yeah.
someone who was being drafted round 5 pushed down the board. And now that means a player I want is going to get pushed up. So, from a selfish perspective, I hate to see this, but this doesn't sound good at all for
No.
Mixon. He's 29 years old. He's had a lot of injuries in his career. He can come back too soon. It could be injured again. So we don't even have the complete details of this. And the other thing with Mixon, too, he's never been an efficient back, right? He's a guy that needs the volume 4.1 yards per carry in his
Yep.
career. I know he's had some bad offensive lines to run behind in Cincinnati, but he's a guy that needs the volume. And now we have to worry about will he even be ready for week one? So I can't see myself drafting him, even if he falls far. Maybe if you have IR spots that are, 3 or more, and it really drops to a point where you're like, okay, I'll take him here. maybe he is back week 1 or 2 and it's not that bad. But otherwise, I just don't see how you can draft him right now. And again, I don't feel good about the rest of the backfield because it could be just a split across the board. I don't know if you agree or disagree on that.
I know, I agree with that. I had already kind of agreed that maybe it was going to be more split than people wanted, where they were taking Joe Mixon anyway. He was going in the 6th round, which I think is pretty in line with where he was going last season anyway. But the 6th round put him around other guys that I really like taking: Travion Henderson, RJ Harvey, DeAndre Swift. There were just better backs in that range where I just said, I actually looked when I saw this news. I have unintentionally 0% Joe Mixon this season. And it's one of those things where I see 0% exposure at him and I say to myself, I'm okay with that. It's not someone where I'm looking at that name and saying, you know what, I need to sprinkle in some Joe Mixon in my drafts just in case he does go off. Because again, in the fantasy life breakdowns for sure, when we look at the projections, there was a little bit of a split. Nothing crazy, but you put the split in there, and then to me, the injuries too were something that I was just a little bit nervous about with Joe Mixon. So you look back at some of the efficiencies, like you said, last season, Mixon rush yards over expected per carry was 19th, which was, I think, the best outing that he's had since 2020. But it just still wasn't, it still wasn't amazing. To me, I look at Nick Chubb, and I've always said this, and I'll continue to say this, Adam. If I'm wrong about Nick Chubb, I'll be upset about it because I won't have any of him. But that means we get the old Nick Chubb returning to form. But I'm also with you. I'm not back on Nick Chubb. I can't do it. He's suffered some really devastating injuries, and hopefully he is able to bounce back from that. But when you look at career lows in yards per attempt, percentage of carries that gained at least 10 yards, that's what he was doing last season. And so, the injuries piled up on top of an age, piled up on top of a new team. I don't want to go there with either of them actually. So I'm right in line with you, which sucks, but
Yeah, and I saw a reporter who covered camp for the Texans saying Chubb just not moving well, like he just doesn't look great. So if it changes throughout training camp and all of a sudden he looks better, maybe. But again, we have to be realistic here. These injuries have just taken away from him. I mean, it's 2 years since that. It was an ACL, a MCL, a meniscus
Mhm.
tear, and he was great before it. I mean, he was an explosive runner, broke long runs, but now he's older and all those injuries, it takes a toll. So I think a lot of people are going to just see this and be like, oh, it's Nick Chubb time and move him up. And I think that's going to be a mistake. Like you said, I would love to be wrong on this because he was one of my favorite running
Yeah,
backs.
he was the best to
Yeah,
watch.
before he got injured, but I just can't see it now. And I'm interested to see, like, in drafts where he goes the next few days, like how far does he move up? I still don't think there'll be a period or a point in the draft where I go, yeah, I'm clicking Nick Chubb. I just don't see it. I don't see the what the productivity is going to be with him. I just don't see it.
Yeah, right now he's going pick 169 over on Underdog, so that puts him in the 15th round, and
Yeah,
that's
he's going to move up.
actually he's going to move up. He
I mean, look,
goes,
15th round. I mean, how could you,
yeah,
right?
I
Because
mean,
you're probably
it's
going
not
to
bad.
drop that pick anyway. So 15th round, okay. Even though I still probably think there are other
This is
running
where I
backs.
found your limit. You said I'll
Look,
I'll pick
because
him
the
up.
15th round is just not going to sink you. You go,
No.
all right, I'll take him in the 15th round, see how he does first couple weeks. If it's terrible, I'll just move on. But I don't think it's going to be 15th round. I think it's going to be higher after this news.
Yeah, I agree. ESPN, I'm on the ADP tool right now, by the way, fantasyleft.com.
Love
So
that
you can
tool.
go, it's one of my favorites. I have it up the whole time during the show. Shameless plug. But when I'm looking at the list view, ESPN 162, Sleeper 161, Yahoo 126. So he's a little bit up on Yahoo. And then, like I said, Underdog 169. But I'll see where people, yeah, I'm expecting him
It's going
to
to change.
climb. Where do you think he ends up? 13th?
I think
Higher?
higher, yeah.
12th?
Yeah, 11, 12. I could see.
Just don't. I'm not you can't I'm not doing it. I can't do it. I'd rather, again, once you start pushing him up into those ranges, you're taking him over like a Cam Scattaboo, a Zach
Not doing that.
Charbonnet.
Not,
Tajay Spears is in the
no
11th.
way.
Like, it's
Not doing
just,
that. Give me
there's better
Spears.
names out there. Maybe the 15th is where Adam draws the line and he says, "All right, I'll take him in the 15th." But other than that, maybe be careful about that. So we'll have to watch. We'll have to wait and see. Another injury that I just wanted to hit here really quick, and we'll continue on. But Justin Jefferson with his hamstring injury, is this worrying at all to you? So he has a mild hamstring strain. It's going to keep him out of practice. They sent him in for an MRI. Haven't seen anything hasn't really updated since I believe that was Saturday. But it's the left hamstring, revealed a mild strain. Team will hold the receiver out of practice a few days with reevaluation next week. So this week coming up. Is this worrisome at all?
No, not yet. Just it's
Okay.
July 28th. So you'd rather this happen now. There's still time for him to be ready at the start of the season. They're going to be cautious. The only thing I could see is if you're maybe you have Jefferson ahead of CeeDee Lamb, that you go, all right, if I'm
That's me.
drafting now, okay, I'll take CeeDee Lamb ahead of Jefferson because just in case it lingers or it gets worse. But you'd rather have a player deal with this now, right? In late July than this occur the last week of August or beginning of September. There is plenty of time for him to get ready for the start of the season. So I don't see any reason to downgrade him right now. Just that one scenario,
Yeah.
which I might be faced with this weekend. I'm picking three.
Are you?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he's definitely going to be there
Yeah.
for
So
sure. I switched my ranking. I put CeeDee Lamb at two now, wide receiver two.
yeah, and I
That's
have not
that's
look,
it.
I think it was close anyway to begin
It
with because
was.
if
I was flipping him back and forth almost every other week.
right, and you look, CeeDee Lamb, it's 3 straight years of 100 receptions. We know what he can do with Dak Prescott. This is an offense that's going to be pass heavy. With Jefferson, you have the slight hamstring concern now, a quarterback he's never played with. I'm not
Yep.
worried. I think J.J. McCarthy's going to be fine, and we've seen Jefferson excel with whatever quarterback has been out there. But if
Yep.
you're when you're deciding between two players, you got to look at these things under a microscope. And right now, if you look at it, you go, okay, maybe I'll give the slight edge to CeeDee Lamb.
Jordan Addison, by the way, I know we have no update on what the suspension could look like if there is a suspension coming down going in the sixth round. Since we're already just sitting here, Adam, talking about the Minnesota Vikings, is he someone you're actively drafting right now? Like I said, sixth round, so that puts him around. Still, I mean, really good receiver names. You've got Debo there. I don't know why I started with Debo. You're rolling your eyes, like
No,
okay,
I'm
any other
not
play?
actually.
I'm
The
kidding.
reports have been positive on
He looks
Debo.
good.
Yeah.
Jacoby Myers, Jerry Judy, Debo, Chris Olave, Jawan Jennings. I know, like for Addison, we always know the target ceiling is going to be capped because you're playing with Justin Jefferson. That is always going to be the case with J. Jeff there, unless he misses time due to any kind of injury. But it's always reflected in our projections too. You got 145 targets going to Justin Jefferson. You've got 94 going to Jordan Addison. But is he still someone you're drafting? Because he is a good bet to give you those wide receiver three numbers if he's on the field. I guess that's the big question. Are we okay with taking maybe 3 games? I think I've seen that there are some reports that it might be 3 games minimum, but are you still going after him in this offense?
I'm fine. Like he's not a target, but like if he's the highest ranked receiver I have in that part of the draft and I need a receiver, I'm fine taking him. The the touchdowns are crazy. He's got 19
Yeah.
touchdowns in 2 seasons. And, part of you goes, okay, is this going to continue? But, it is the offense and he does get those targets down there and he's been able to be productive with them. Because, the other numbers, see, you're looking at 60 to 70 receptions, 900 yards. So
Mhm.
he kind of needs those touchdowns. But they have been there, and this is an offense that looks like it's going to be very good again if you believe in McCarthy being able to step in and produce. And I think a lot of people do. And if you believe
I
in
do.
Kevin O'Connell and the array of weapons they have, then it's a good spot. But yeah, Jefferson has 19 touchdowns in 32 NFL games.
That's crazy.
It
I
is.
just yeah. I mean wide receiver 30 for Addison, wide receiver 23 in PPR points per game. So again, a good bet in that range if you need the wide receiver 3 kind of upside. Again, we have to wait though. Might be changing what I'm saying right here, Adam, if we go 4+ games and Jordan Addison isn't out there. But hopefully someone from the league is listening to us right now, right? They know.
Yeah, we need that
Friends of the
decision.
show. Like, can we get some decisions made here, please? Jordan Addison, by the way, really crazy difference when you look at his ADP because on underdog, of course, wide receivers get pushed up. He's going in the 6th round, so he's picked about 68 overall. Yahoo, he's at pick 90. ESPN pick 101, and then sleeper he's pick 70. So that's a big. This is why we always say check the ADPs if you're drafting on a different site that you're not necessarily as comfortable with. I had to do it when I was doing a best ball draft over on DraftKings, and it was so fun. But Adam, I'm really glad I did a draft beforehand or just went and looked through their ADPs because I missed some guys because I didn't scroll. This is a great example of how big of a difference from ESPN to underdog Jordan Addison is.
Yeah, and knowing the platform is extremely important because you'll hear us mention ADPs and maybe you're on your site and you go, what are they talking about? Well, we know an underdog, which is the best ball, the receivers get pushed way up, so it's not going to be that way in your redraft leagues. And yeah, it's always important because I'm sure if you play in multiple leagues, you're on different platforms.
Yeah,
You're likely not playing on just one, so it could be sometimes three, four, five. I think, oh, dude, knowing us, we probably have
I
like
was gonna
six,
say.
seven. I know, like I'm on Sleeper, CBS, my fantasy league, so
Yeah,
I've done the DraftKings best balls as well. So it's important to go in there, look at the platform, and there are going to be players buried in that queue. So
yeah.
don't go and draft based on the queue. Either have your rankings, print them out from Fantasy Life, whoever rankings you prefer, and just make sure you have something in front of you because you don't want to be in a situation where someone is drafted and you're like, oh, I didn't even know they were available. Yeah, because they were ranked 334th. But this way, if you have a sheet, you go, oh, wait, was this guy picked? Type in the search. Oh, he's there. Okay, cool. I'm going to take him
Yeah.
next.
That was me during this draft. I said, "Oh," it was like 5 picks later. It's like, "Oh, that he was there?" Oh,
That's the worst. So
it's
you
the worst.
never
No,
want
it
to
is
be
the
in that
worst.
situation.
Yeah, yeah, I was just gonna say,
It's
fantasy
at
life.
least you did it
I
now.
learned my lesson. Yeah, it was a couple weeks ago. I was like, okay, I got it now. Did some more drafts with them. So yeah, and it's fun to see the difference too between Underdog and some other sites like DraftKings because the guys that I really like might not be pushed up as much in DraftKings. So I'm thinking every team that I've walked away with, Adam, I'm like, this is a winner. When we win millions, I'll let you
We
know.
all think that. Well, most of the time, there has to be a draft you came with. You said, I
Oh, there's
really don't like
so
my
many
team.
drafts. Yes, almost every single week I do that, and I'm just like, "Oh, this sucks." But then those are the ones, funny enough, that do the best, and you're
Yeah,
just sitting back
usually
like,
works like that.
what is going on?" We're talking quarterback tiers. We want to talk through some guys that I know we haven't really dove into yet this season, but I do want to talk a little bit about Justin Herbert, Brock Purdy, Dak Prescott, Trevor Lawrence, these tier 5 proven commodities and what our expectations are. Again, fantasylife.com is where you can go check out the upgraded website. Use that code SXM20 if you want to see ADP differences. If you want to see the best utilization suite that you've ever seen, make sure you go over there at fantasylife.com because everything looks amazing right now. SXM20 gets you 20% off. Let's do quarterback tiers coming up next. Cowboys paying everyone except Micah Parsons over the weekend. That could frustrate you. Kendall Valenzuela, Adam Ronis with you right here. Fantasy Life, Sirius XM, Fantasy Sports. Truly, Adam, though, paying everyone else. Nuts.
Yeah, it really
All I'm gonna
is. I
say
mean,
about it.
Jake Ferguson got paid. Good for him, but Micah Parsons is the guy that you got to get done, and the Cowboys always tend to wait on these star players, and then
Mhm.
eventually wind up paying a ton. So I don't know how they don't learn a lesson and get it over with. Because you waited, TJ Watt got paid. Now they're going to look at that contract. So it doesn't make any sense, but they usually do always wind up playing their players.
Yeah. So we'll just wait till the very, very last weekend for you to see that for Michael Parsons, or hopefully a little bit sooner. We'll find out there. But we're doing quarterback tiers and rankings and where we kind of have some of these guys ranked going into the 2025 NFL season. Ian, Dwayne did a great job. Ian does a great job too. But Dwayne did write an article on his quarterback tiers. Always recommend everyone go and check those out at fantasylife.com. But I wanted to highlight more of tier 5 and what our expectations are for some of these guys. These are proven commodities, and looking at some of these quarterbacks where we know what we've seen in the past, what we could see in the future. I want to start with Brock Purdy. I know we've talked a lot about George Kittle, Jawan Jennings. There's a lot of things going. Christian McCaffrey, is he going to be healthy? We've talked almost about everyone else besides Brock Purdy, and where we have him in our rankings. Is he inside your top 12 going into this year?
He is not.
Oh, spicy. I like that. So what
He
do you okay,
he
so what
is
do you
for
think
you.
he
You know,
is?
the issue
He's
is there's those quarterbacks in that range are all so close
mhm.
that it really comes down to what you prefer. And I think Purdy's fine as a fantasy quarterback. We saw him 2 years ago have that great season with 31 touchdowns and then obviously dropped off a little bit last year. But I
Yeah.
thought he was pretty solid considering the lack of weapons he had with all the injuries, especially at receiver and McCaffrey, because a lot of people were saying, oh, Purdy's just a product of the offense and all the players around
Yeah.
him. And yeah, the numbers realistically, predictably went down, but I thought he still played well. So it's not really anything against him. It's just in that range, there are some quarterbacks I like better that I prefer. So that's why I don't have him as high.
Yeah, and I think Brock Purdy is going to give you exactly what you expect, right? It's not something where I have him inside my top 12. It's not me meaning that I'm taking him every single time in that range because actually I'm usually not at him, but that's not to say that I don't believe he could give you a good fantasy season. I think it's clear over the past 2 years and last season you said that they had a ton of injuries, but Purdy is going to be it's going to be hard to see him get to that 500 pass attempts, that 500 pass attempts in this offense. I look at him and I do say to myself though, he was without a lot of guys last year, and hopefully he's able to kind of come back from that with some of the stats that we can talk through. But he's got a QB9 and QB6 finish over the last 2 seasons, and so when you look at it past for 258, 268 yards per game over the last 2 years, I think he's consistent. I think it's consistent of what he could give you. If you're expecting Christian McCaffrey to stay healthy, and hopefully some of these other guys are too, then I still like him in the range, but it's again not someone he's inside my top 12. But again, that's just because I think he can give you consistent fantasy output. And in that range, though, I'm still waiting on other guys, but that doesn't mean he can't give you what you want.
Yeah, I mean, he's shown it when
Yeah.
they are operating fully, the offensive line is healthy. He can put up good fantasy numbers.
Floor ceiling projections from Dwain's model here. Floor is 14.6 points per game. Ceiling is 22.7 points per game. And it was interesting because Dwain was talking how he actually almost put Brock Purdy in tier 3 next to Baker Mayfield because he has two top 10 finishes on his resume. Could this continue? Could continue to thrive as a runner, but there's enough questions about the weapons and everything else to kind of push him into that tier 5. Yeah, it's not going to be bad for him. One QB leagues, fine. Not, it's fine.
Yeah, a lot's going to depend on the health of a lot of the weapons around him. And also, McCaffrey being healthy will really help him because of what he can do in the passing game. They didn't really have that pass catching back last year that can do what McCaffrey did. So I think that hurt the passing numbers a little bit of Purdy as well.
Yeah, they've got young receivers, but yeah, they're talented, somewhat inconsistent. We just have to figure it out with Purdy. Where is he at for you? 14? I'm guessing now.
Uh, he is actually lower than that. I just like a
Okay.
lot of the other quarterbacks better. That's
Yeah.
why.
All right, fair enough. What about we can talk Dak Prescott. You want to talk Dak Prescott here? What you expect from him? I think this is interesting though, because obviously I'm not someone, but he does get a lot of hate. Just overall, it feels like a lot of hate for Dak Prescott. But realistically, if we're looking at value picks and we're going to go through some of our favorite value picks by round, 10th round Dak Prescott with the potential, he now has a real wide receiver two on this team. He's hopefully coming back fully healthy. He's going to be, yeah, he's technically in the prime years for quarterbacks, age 30, 32 right now. And so, it feels like the ADP isn't putting in the fact that maybe this could be the best situation he's walking into, or hopefully, having a good time with it.
Look, you can say what you want about him, but 2 of the last 3 years where he's been healthy, he's had 37 touchdown passes and 36. And nothing says, oh, this was a fluke. I mean, it was a 6.2 touchdown percentage and 6.1. So I don't think that's crazy. And when you look at the way this team is constructed, they're going to rely on the pass. I just don't see the running game being able to do anything significant. They're not going to be able to rely on it. Also, I think there's questions about the defense as well. So they could be in situations where there could be shootouts and they're forced to put up points. And then you mentioned the addition of George Pickens is massive. They haven't
Yeah.
had that vertical threat. And Dak has been able to put up these numbers with like Michael Gallup as the two, Brandon Cook. So now you add Pickens, who's way more talented than those guys. He's playing in the best situation he's ever been in. Yeah, he could put up numbers. I understand in that range of quarterbacks, there are a few guys that can run a little bit. So people often go, well, I'm going to take those guys. But Dak Prescott can put up numbers, even if he doesn't run much. Because again, he has the ability to put up 35 touchdown passes with 4,500 yards. He's shown he can do it. So yeah, he's a good value for sure. If you're going to wait on quarterback, I don't mind taking him at all. I don't have too much so far, maybe one, but I am absolutely open to taking him.
Yeah, I'm open to taking him in that range too, because you said it in the last two healthy seasons. So 2021, 2023, he averaged 21 and 20.7 points, 278, 266 yards per game. So he isn't the runner. I mean, we already know that by now. He's not the runner that he once was, and we're probably not going to get back to that point. So in fantasy, if you're looking around, like you just said, Adam, if you're looking at that range and you're saying, Drake May's there. Caleb Williams. I'll wait for a potential JJ McCarthy here in a second. It's understandable. Justin Fields goes just one round earlier in the ninth round compared to Dak Prescott. So I understand that, but the floor ceiling projections at FantasyLife.com is what's going to bring. And I actually might take Dak for the first. I haven't taken Dak Prescott in a couple years at least, but 15.3 points per game for the floor. Median projections 18.4 points per game, and then the ceiling projections 22.4 points per game. So I think there's a lot of things, but with George Pickens, if he plays up to the potential that we've talked about before, if he stays level the whole season and just really brings it this year, I think that opens things up between him and CeeDee Lamb. And so you look at Dak Prescott, who could be a high end QB2, but really could give you QB1 upside down the stretch if everything goes well, stays healthy, wide receivers come to play, all that good stuff. So I don't think it's a bad range at all.
No, like there's a good range here of quarterbacks that are appealing. So it really comes
Yeah.
down to like kind of who falls to you or who you want to go out of your way to get in that range. And that's why this is a year where if you do miss out on the elite, I have no problem taking like two quarterbacks in that 10 to 18 range. And, you hope one of them pans out and becomes your every week starter. I'm more reluctant to do that in leagues with 16 roster spots. I don't like having two
Yeah.
quarterbacks there, especially two if you're drafting now, right? Or you're drafting early where you're not going to have your waiver wire run for another month. You want to have as many running backs on that bench because there could be injuries that occur between now and the start of the season. And I'd rather have a running back on my bench where, say, your quarterback, you draft one, more than likely there's going to be another quarterback on waivers for you to get should something go wrong. Whereas
Yeah.
if those backup running backs, if they become a starter and they're on the waiver wire and that week one waiver wire run comes, someone is spending 40 to 60% of their budget on that running back.
Absolutely. And again, the range is good. Like you said, on underdog again, he's going in the 10th round, but that's the earliest he's going. I see ESPN pick 121. So not a huge difference, but same with Sleeper pick 121. Yahoo, he's going at 110. So it's still around, Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jared Goff territory. So it's understandable. I've taken the most Drake May, Caleb Williams in that range. And then, like I said, Justin Fields going in the ninth. But it's not bad. This is it. Should you say it, Adam? This is the year. Go ahead. This is the
The
year for
year
the
for what?
Cowboys. Anything.
The
Anything good
Cowboys?
to have anything good to happen for you guys, maybe? Or Dak at least, stay
I
healthy.
hope so. I hope so, but I can't get my hopes up too much.
You took him, I remember you took him once last season.
I did, yeah. Actually, in the GST, I took him,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
actually, and this goes to show you too. So that league, I took Dak Prescott and Justin Fields. We know Dak got hurt. Fields lost his job. Fortunately, I was able to get Bo Nix off the waiver wire and still able to
Crazy.
finish with the most points in the league and reach the championship. So it means that the other part of the roster was really good. So it's not about that one player and everything, but yeah, it's just that didn't work out, obviously, with the injury. The thing was, I didn't even want Dak Prescott. I even said it when I announced the
Yeah, I
pick. I
remember
said,
that.
because I knew people were going to be like, oh, Homer. I was like, look, I really don't want to take him, but he's the best player on the board, Dak Prescott. So,
It's okay. We've all
because
been there.
I never draft with my heart. I just don't. You cannot do it in
No, you
fantasy.
can't.
It's a
No.
big mistake. So, uh, and there are fans that do it a lot. We all know it. They're at their draft. They're wearing their team's jersey. You know they want to take their guy. And look, I know fantasy is supposed to be fun. You want to do that. I don't. It's not fun for me if I don't win. So I can't play like that. If I'm not winning, it's not fun, right? I lost in the championship last year. It still bothers me. And the
Yeah,
guy I
as it
lost to
should.
is talking trash too.
Ah,
So
it's the worst.
yeah,
Well, he only has a short period of time to be able to talk trash. Then once the new season starts, it's like
exactly.
the fun police, Adam Ronis. That's what you. He's like, don't draft your favorite players.
No, you
Draft
look.
someone else. I'm
You
kidding. I'm
can.
kidding.
Again, it's all how you want to manage your team. But I'm trying to win. I want that. I want that money. I want that glory. Even in the leagues that's not for money, like I want to win. My name's
Yeah.
on it, so it's important to me. And I'm not going to draft with my heart.
I respect it. I respect it. Let's talk. I want to go through two more quarterbacks here in these quarterback tiers. One, Justin Herbert, who again we've talked a lot about Amari and Hampton, some of these wide receivers coming in. But what are the expectations for Justin Herbert this season? We're going to talk about him and Trevor Lawrence coming up next. Kendall Valenzuela, Adam Ronis with you. Happy Monday, by the way. Hopefully, you all had a good, safe weekend. Excited that you guys are back listening to us, getting you ready for all things fantasy drafts coming up. Again, fantasylife.com. That's where you want to go. Use that promo code SXM20, gets you 20% off any tier 1 or tier 2 subscription. And we'll always shout out the tools that we're using during this show. The ADP tool is one that I've got up every single day. Utilization suite is amazing. You've got the season stats, the game logs, the comparison tool, the team styles. Everything there is 100% great. And while you're there, make sure you sign up for that newsletter, fantasylife.com. Let's talk Justin Herbert to finish out these quarterback tiers. Again, we're talking tier 5, fantasylife.com for this article from Dwain McFarland. But Justin Herbert, 27 years old right now. When's his birthday? I don't know. It's sometime during the year.
Yeah, good call.
I actually couldn't even look it up fast enough, so I'm just gonna skip over it. So just pretend we didn't go there. So just I don't know, Adam. Justin
March
Herbert,
10th.
is it?
Yep, March 10th,
Oh, there you
98.
go. Okay, I knew that one.
You should
Sorry,
have.
Justin. Sorry,
It's
Justin.
all right. I'll let it slide this
11th
one time.
11th round goes around JJ McCarthy, Jordan Love, Trevor Lawrence. Again, talking about Justin Herbert right here. I don't know. I don't know, Adam. Just what do you think about Justin Herbert? Because you look at Justin Herbert and you say, okay, last year was slightly better than maybe we've seen in the past. He had the ankle injury. Chargers obviously are a team, especially now, they relied heavily on the run over the first 4 games. Then after their bye week, I remember us talking about this and breaking it down, but they opened things back up a little bit, 2.3% DBOE over there. And so Justin Herbert dropped back over expected for anyone. But Justin Herbert is just not someone that we've seen, run as much. He hasn't put up the points that we necessarily wanted. So it just looks like this team for the Chargers is never going to be as pass heavy as we've seen with the 2020, 2021 teams. But there have been rumors, and I don't know if we believe these rumors, Adam, that he's going to run more. We've seen him have 15 rushing yards per game in 4 of 5 seasons. So what do you think about? I've never really been one to take Justin Herbert, and I don't think this year is going to be any different. But if someone is looking to wait on their quarterbacks and they're eyeballing Justin Herbert, what are your expectations for him?
I'm the same. I haven't drafted him anywhere. Love the talent from a real life perspective, but it's the fantasy that is a
Yeah,
problem. Now, you did mention that the ankle injury that he had early in the season. So from weeks 1 to 6, it was not good. He was QB 27 in fantasy points per game. Week 7 to 18, he was the QB 11. So he did improve, but I do think it goes back to I don't see enough pass volume in this offense for him to break into that top 12. You talked about early in his career. Look at the pass attempts his first few years in the league:
yeah,
595, 672, 699. Then the last 2 years, 456 and 504. It's really difficult, unless you're Lamar Jackson, to put up those elite numbers when the pass attempts are so few. 23 touchdowns last year, only 3 interceptions. Wait, didn't he have like 3 or 4 in the playoff game though? Right?
yeah. It wasn't. We don't have to
Yeah.
go there. We don't have to talk about it.
But yeah, he's a good quarterback when you watch him play, but I don't think it'll translate to fantasy unless they really do increase the passing volume. And I doubt they will. It's still, you go out, you draft Omarion Hampton so early.
Yeah,
You want to rely on him. We'll see what happens with Najee Harris in the eye. And I didn't do that intentionally. I just realized what I did. We'll see what happens with Najee Harris's eye entry. That was not intentional at
stop.
all. I wasn't trying to be funny, just natural. But yeah, so I love the talent from an NFL perspective. It doesn't look like it's going to translate to fantasy. Like it'll probably be like last year, right? Where there's certain weeks you're like, oh, okay, this is looking
Yeah,
good, and then it'll go back to, oh, here we go, run heavy once again. Because they might be in some situations this year where they might have to pass the ball more. If they go against a better team that takes the lead, then maybe they're forced to play catch up, and that's when you're going to see Herbert have some pretty good games. But might be difficult to predict that on a week to week basis.
Yeah, it could be tough. I'm wondering where they are in terms of strength of. So they're right in 15th in terms of strength of schedule.
Yeah, the division is tough.
Division
It's
is
an
definitely
improved
tough.
division.
I always look at Justin Herbert too, and I think to myself, even if he doesn't get the massive passing volume that we've talked about here, like he like efficiency. That's how we talk about Jared Goff, right? Jared Goff's efficient. We were just talking about Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy's efficient. So there are ways for him to win. The floor ceiling projection model has him the floor 14.1 points per game, ceiling 21.4 points per game. So we've seen it. I think we've talked about it too. Like he can be a QB1, but it's he projects right now mid-range to high-end QB2 to start the season. And then I think it's a question of if he has a true number 2 receiver that really steps up, whether it's Trey Harris, I guess you want to throw out Quentin Johnston? Maybe Quentin Johnston steps up. But if he is able to get that, and he does run a little bit more, we could be talking about him in a different light
It
come
also
mid-season.
it does show the depth of the quarterbacks because you wind up putting him behind some of those guys, and
Yeah.
if it does work out, he can be a productive fantasy quarterback. I do think there's some depth, but he's not someone that I feel like I'm never going to draft him.
If I do it, it's because of the conversation we just talked about earlier. It's because I was waiting a little bit too long and I got a little bit too cocky and I said, "Oh, it's fine. These guys are going to come back around to me," and then they don't, and I'm walking away with Justin Herbert. What? But you could have worse situations. I feel like that you're in than waiting and getting Justin Herbert. But I'm with you. If it happens to me, it's unintentional. Just know that if you're looking at any of my lineups. We're going to continue on here, though. I want to make sure we finish up. We've been talking about late year wide receiver breakouts for fantasy. There's one name I want to bring up. See if we're back in or if we're completely out on this receiver. We're going to talk about him next. Talking through late year wide receiver breakouts for fantasy and the potential that guys going into year 4 or later have. We've talked about this, Adam. Dwain did a great job breaking down some of the early year wide receiver breakouts. Late round though, I've had this queued up for a little while, and I just want to know if I throw the name Chris Olave out there, wide receiver for the Saints, going into his 4th season. Consensus ADP, I think it's still around wide receiver 33. I mean, he's going late. So he could be one that we look at him and we say, all right, we know the injury concerns. Unfortunately, he's had to it's been the concussions. He's going in the 6th round right now. So that puts him. We talked about Jordan Addison today, but Juwan Jennings, Debo Samuel, Jerry Jeudy, Jacoby Myers. What do you think about a potential breakout for Chris Olave? There's a lot of differences going into this season, though. You've got Kellen Moore now with this offense. You've got a new quarterback, probably going to be Tyler Shuck, more likely than not. So the floor ceiling projections are always good for him. The floor is 10.1, which is good for a wide receiver 4. The ceiling is 17.7 fantasy points per game, which is good for a wide receiver 1. Adam, this might be the year. Every single year I've gone and I've drafted a good amount of Chris Olave, but this season I have backed off a little bit because he does have the talent and it could burn me because he could stay healthy and the connection, he could just get peppered with targets. But yeah, he's challenging for me this year. I haven't taken him nearly as much as I have in the past.
I think he's challenging for most people, and the general feeling to me is that people are just going to avoid him because of the situation with the Saints offense, the concussions, and if you look too, the disparity between targets between him and Rashid Shaheed has not been as wide as you would expect.
No.
So I don't remember. Do I even have any Chris Olave yet? I probably don't. I'm open to taking him. He's not a target, but the concerns are reflective in the ADP.
Mhm.
This was a guy going in the 2nd round of every draft last year. So it all comes down to, can he get competent quarterback play to get him the ball, because they are going to be trailing a lot and likely going to have to be passing a lot. So there is an opportunity there for Olave to be productive, and you're getting him as a wide receiver 3 or
Yeah.
wide receiver 4, depending on the way you draft. I'm sure there's a lot of people who build a wide receiver heavy team. They're getting him as a wide receiver 4 in draft. So that makes it more appealing because you're not really relying on him to be great, and he might surpass the expectations. Whereas last year, obviously, he sunk your teams.
Yeah, he sunk a lot of my teams, and you're right. For me, I usually have four wide receivers going out of the sixth round because then I, have an anchor running back and maybe one of the elite tight ends, however it works out. But yeah, that's why I understand it. Like he has the talent, and there is stuff there for him to potentially, be a breakout player. It's probably not going to be me drafting him as much, especially over the past couple seasons. But I'll tell you this, Adam. If I see in our we've got a league CBS, he's going pick 126. There is a
What?
point where I'm just going to say, you know what? He's going pick 100 on ESPN. There
Oh,
will be points where I just say I'll take the risk because that risk is baked into the ADP, and I'm okay with it.
I'm definitely taking a 126,
Yeah, not if I
but I
take
don't
him
think
first.
that's happening in most of my leagues.
Not if I take him first. Hopefully we're not drafting together. It's gonna be brutal. All right, time for the water cooler. We're gonna go there. Coming up next. It is our favorite time of the day. Time for that fantasy life water cooler, going through all the pieces of news that you might have missed over the weekend and at the top of the hour, and making sure you are ready for all those drafts coming up. Like I said, the fun police, Adam Ronis, don't draft your favorite players, don't draft with your heart, draft with fantasylife.com. I think that's the best way to do it. So make sure you go over there. Like I said, we've got all of our rankings updated every single day. We've got season long, we've got weekly if you want week one, and all of our tools are right there to help you as well. Projections, ADP, everything that you need. And again, the utilization suite is amazing. So we've got the utilization report from Dwayne McFarland. We've got season stats, game logs, comparison tools, everything that you need when you're making those tough decisions during your drafts. We are here to help. So fantasylife.com to go and check that out. Use that promo code though, SXM20. We have the best listeners and we want to make sure you guys get that discount. So SXM20 gets you 20% off any tier 1 or tier 2 fantasy life subscription. If you've got any questions, send them my way at Valenzuela 17. I'll talk you into it. At Adam Ronis over there on Twitter. If you have any questions for us during this segment here, and we want to make sure we open the phone lines as well. 888-963-2682 is the phone number to call in. So if you've got questions for us, make sure you're calling us in there, or you can use that new call-in button on the Sirius XM app. So again, 888-963-2682, the phone number to call in. We've got a lot of news to go through, Adam. So let's get into it here. One we did not talk about yet, but I want your thoughts on Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin's back. I think that's good news. We got to start off the water cooler with some good news. So, after holding out for the first 4 days, Terry McLaurin has arrived at training camp. This was on Sunday without a new deal. He was placed, though, Adam, on the physically unable to perform list with an ankle injury. So head coach Dan Quinn said that he's going to work off to the side with trainers, uncertain whether he will participate in practice once he has recovered. Again, he is seeking a contract extension. He's got 1 year left on his deal, so he was fined $200,000, which 50,000 per day for missing the start of training camp. But hopefully they're not far apart on contracts. The contract situation, we see him sooner rather than later. But yeah, he's back, which is obviously good news.
Yeah, and all of a sudden that ankle injury will
Hey,
miraculously be fine once that contract is
he's
agreed
pulling
to
a
and he'll be
Devon.
on the
He's
field.
pulling a Devonte Adams. You think
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he didn't want to get fined, so I think he was fined. I
two
don't know
hundred
how.
thousand?
Yeah, for
Yeah,
missing. It was
it's a
50,000
lot.
per day. So the first 4 days, so you got fined
Yep,
for. So he probably said, yeah,
I'm back.
yeah, I'm good to go. I'll work on the side, but my ankle has really been
Yeah, it's
bothering
tough out
me.
there.
So yeah, I think that's the situation. But look, they have to get him signed.
They
They
do.
have big expectations this year. He's your key guy. I understand he turns 30 in September, so that's probably why they're like, we don't want to give him a big deal, but you're gonna have to. I mean, we've seen some of these receivers at that age, Tyreek Hill, Mike Evans, get that extension. McLaurin's been the guy for Washington. He's been there through the down times. Came through with 13 touchdowns last year,
Yep.
and he's highly respected. He's a leader. They're gonna have to pay him, so just figure out a way to get it done and get him on the field.
Yeah, we're team pay your players, pay the guys, especially with the
Yes.
season that he had last year. And I know people will look at that and say, "Ah, well, he like you said, he's gonna be older." But we saw it was Tyreek Hill with the 3 year extension for 30 million per year, 52 guaranteed, and then you had Mike Evans be the other guy. So it's we've seen it. We've seen it. He turns 30 in September. Don't have the birthday in front of me, but maybe I'll go look it up and pretend that I knew it while we were doing this. But they need him out there. I think no matter what, we can talk about him from a fantasy perspective. But Jaden Daniels, you want that connection back this season for how well they did last season. I know the Debo's been getting some love in camp though. I kinda like it. I've already told you I'm back in. It was, we were never wrong, just a
Well,
year too
no,
early.
here we had this discussion weeks ago. I don't remember exactly when. I was stunned at the price of Debo. I
Yes.
thought it was going to be way higher. I thought the optimism was going to flow. Oh, he's going to Washington. He's going to step into a big role. He was dealing with pneumonia and injuries last year, and I really thought he was going to be overvalued, and I was completely wrong. He was going so cheap, and I was like,
He's still cheap.
yeah. So I did take him in a recent best ball because it was like, all
Nice.
right, the price is just so inexpensive at this point. Like, how's he going this low? So,
Wide receiver 37 on Underdog right now.
yeah, I really did think it was going to be higher. So, yeah, I'm fine with it in that range. I do have some concerns still. It really comes down to, but it also comes down to expectations. Years past, where people were taking Debo, it was just too high, in my opinion, because he's really only had that one huge fantasy season. But when you look at the way this team is built, they do need him. And you got to figure they're going to find a way to manufacture touches for him, get him heavily involved in the offense. It's just, he has one season in his career of over 100 targets. And I
Mhm.
know he was doing things on the ground too, right? He was getting the carry, so that was part of where his value was tied in. You would think Washington would, get him the ball that way too, but uh, it really comes down to what kind of shape he's in and his health. And if he comes in healthy, maybe he plays a big role in this offense. And yeah, I think that price is that's fair. That's a fair price.
Yeah.
I really did think it was going to be higher. I was stunned, in the early best ball season of that price. I thought it would be higher.
And listen, I understand, like, you could look at Debo Samuel and be like, it wasn't the pneumonia, it wasn't the rib injury, it wasn't all he had so many the calf strain, like it was just some people are just gonna look at it and be like, Father Time knocked on his door and it's just the start of the decline. And I could see that, but I don't know, Adam. To me, when I look at him as that wide receiver running back hybrid that we've always talked about, the calf strain that happened in September was tough. Then we know he had the rib injury during week 8, and that was after he looked like a shell of himself when he had the pneumonia because of course, when you have pneumonia, you probably aren't going to play very well. So I have a hard time looking at all those things and thinking to myself, well, that is already baked into this price. And so that's why I'm going back. I'm not taking every single share of Debo Samuel that I can get my hands on, but like I said, a wide receiver 37 price tag on Underdog, and that's as expensive as he gets across all other platforms. ESPN, he's going pick 107, 107. Sleeper, he's picks 87, and then on Yahoo, he's 103. CBS is pick 88. So it's all baked in there. So if you're looking, that range of receivers, like you talked about, where they go and who he's falling around, it's just I'm gonna take him a couple times, and we're just gonna see because I don't think you're risking as much as like you said last season. I took him a lot. It was early round picks, and he really did bury me and a lot of other fantasy managers. But the range he's going, I'm okay going back.
Yeah, he's not a target for me. He's not someone I'm itching to get on my team, but in the right spot, I might take him. There are still a lot of concerns, though. We saw a
There are.
lot of the underlying metrics decline last year. And you can say, yeah, it was attributed to all those injuries, but usually as you get older, it does not get better. So I do think the age and health are concerned, but I'm sure they have big plans for him. They did throw a lot of screen passes last year. They were sixth. Debo can excel in that, but he's also a very physical player
Mhm.
that, gets hit a lot, breaks a lot of tackles, and that's usually why the injuries occur. He's just such a physical runner. He takes a beating, but uh, yeah, again, the price is fair. I thought it would be higher. I thought there was going to be a lot of optimism, like, oh, he's going to Washington, Jaden Daniels, he's going to go off. It was the injuries last year, and that's not the way it has happened.
No, it is not. I'm trying to look at what we have for a split. So Debo Samuel, 166 rushing yards, and then 770 receiving yards off of 93 targets for Debo Samuel. Not bad.
Which would be the third highest in his career.
Yeah. Terry McLaurin set for 113. We've talked about his regression though. It was funny because I was talking to Ian Hartitz about it, and he just does not. He's like, no, Terry McLaurin with a good quarterback, which I do see that point too, where it's like why did he score so many touchdowns? It's because he finally was playing with a good quarterback, and we can talk about Dwayne has talked about the touchdown regression. We've talked about it too, but it is always interesting to see where people kind of stand with Terry McLaurin because it feels like, again, going back to it, he should be getting paid here pretty quickly. But are you feeling the same way? Terry's expensive. He's going in the third round. Very end though. He's going right at the turn. I haven't taken a lot of him just because, again, I like other players in this range. Like Devonte Adams is someone that I've taken a lot of. Marion Hampton is in this range as well. So it's I don't think it's been intentional, but I do in the back of my mind think about the touchdown regression talks that we've had.
Yeah, it's just if you look at the numbers, the receptions and yards, they've basically been similar almost every year. And then last year, the touchdowns happened for him finally. He had
Yeah.
7 in his rookie year, never had more than 5 until last year with 13. But still, it's nothing else jumped. 82 receptions, that's the second most in his career. The 1,096 yards was the third highest of his career. So it's all pretty similar outside of the touchdowns, unless you think all of a sudden he's going to go to 140, 145 targets. I mean, he had 132 2 years ago. So that is the concern. Are we going to see a massive jump in targets and yards? Because more than likely the 13 touchdowns is not going to repeat. Can he still score 8 or 9? Yeah. If,
Yeah.
if this offense is going to be really good, he's going to be a big part of it. So he can still score a lot of touchdowns, but do you see a big jump in the receptions or yards? That's going to be the key because we didn't see it even with the Jaden Daniels and how good he was as a rookie. Now there was a period where he didn't pass much because he had that rib injury, so I think they kind
Yes.
of slow played him a little bit. The thing with McLaurin is he just has these games where he disappears. Like here's a few of his games last year in PPR: 3.7, 8.2, 2, and 1. Like how does that happen with a number one receiver in offense where he disappears like that? That's just it's a little perplexing.
Maybe the presence of Debo Samuel helps that a little bit. I mean, their wide receiver too. I don't even think we really mentioned him last season because it was like we don't. I don't know if we wanted to go that far down depth charts and everything
Yeah, they
else. So
they did. That was the thing when you looked at the team, you're like, where are the receivers here? Because I
yeah,
mean, I was like, yeah, Noah Brown could emerge. There's an opportunity, and Zach
we
Ertz
were trying.
stepped
I
up.
mean, you can't knock us for not trying. We
But
tried
that's
with
the
them, but
thing. So when you look at McLaurin, okay, he was 15th in points per game in PPR
yeah,
formats at wide receiver last year. Is that a ceiling?
yeah. I think you're drafting him
Right?
at a
It
ceiling.
probably is.
I
So, but
truly at the third round. I think you're hoping, but again, like I look at that Adam though, and I tell myself, but yeah, but he has a good quarterback now. So
right.
I'm not really, the last couple the few years where we say, well, he's never really put up. He's given us wide receiver 31, wide receiver 25, wide receiver 38 seasons in the previous three. And the underlying numbers have been the same, but now he has a good quarterback. So I need to factor that in too and make sure that I'm accounting for that because Jaden Daniels, I think we've had this conversation. I don't see him as someone that could hit the sophomore slump like we've talked about with maybe a potential Bo Nix, candidate. I just think that we've seen how good Jaden Daniels is, and he's going to continue to be that good. And maybe if he continues to be that good, Terry McLaurin's going to continue to score, 13 touchdowns and have good because his underlying numbers, it was the touchdowns. There's 13 touchdowns on a route rate of 2.4%.
Yeah. I mean, he had 14 targets in the red zone, caught 12. So they were really efficient.
Yeah,
Yeah, look, it's a challenging one
it
because
is.
you do expect the receiving yards, receptions to be good. It really comes down to how many touchdowns he scores, and I don't think we expect 13 again, but it could be 9 or 10, which wouldn't be that bad. And what if Daniels gets better? Everyone talks about the sophomore slump, but
Exactly.
what if they improve? So, uh, yeah,
You talking yourself back into it? I feel like
no, I feel like other people will be higher on him in that range, and I'll just get a different receiver. But I've also said that range of receivers from like 10 to like 30, like it's so close
yeah,
for many of them.
they're interchangeable for us and especially rank. I change that range a lot. Like every other day I think I'm looking at it Adam and I'm saying, well, I really like Tedderell McMillan, Xavier Worthy's right there. You've got DK Metcalf, Jameson Williams, George Pickens, Cortland Sutton's going in the 5th round. Like Yeah, but Terry, we'll just have to. I say it a lot, but we'll have to wait and see. 13 touchdowns, though. That's going to be. I think we have them projected right now. And again, these are just projections, so we can't, we can't say that these are going to be perfect. But it's a wide receiver, 17 finish, 190 fantasy points off of 113 targets. But that's eight receiving touchdowns.
I mean, you mentioned Sutton, right? Like if you look
Yeah.
at compare them, they had similar numbers in receptions and yards. What was the difference? Touchdowns. McLaurin had 13, Sutton had 8. Sutton had 135 targets. So he had more targets, yet you see what about a 2-round discrepancy, right?
Yes.
So
Yep.
what
2 rounds.
what if it's reversed? What if Sutton gets the 13 touchdowns this year, McLaurin goes to 8?
Then
Right?
he's going
That's
to
what I'm
finish
saying.
as
It's like
the yeah.
it's closer than you think. Like once you start, the touchdowns really make the big difference, and sometimes they're always difficult to predict.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys in that range too that we could say that. Like what happens if they just do run really pure and they just come down with the Terry McLaurin touchdowns from last season in that range. So you've got your Xavier Worthy's in there, Jalen Waddle if people think that he could bounce back. Marvin Harrison Jr. has been the bounce back candidate for a lot of people saying he's too talented. It's going to turn around. So yeah, projections at fantasylife.com to go and check those out. And last just on the injury front, just to make sure that people know, I haven't seen an update yet this morning, or I haven't really been looking, but Darnell Mooney looks like he's going to miss a few weeks with the shoulder injury here. So he was hurt in the first training camp practice, dove for that deep pass. I think we brought that up on the show from Michael Penix there, had the MRI on his shoulder, and his injury explains why, they went out and added DJ Chark to the roster. I believe that was a Friday move that we saw as well. So not great for Atlanta or for Darnell Mooney. I know a smaller player, but those are some of the receivers, late round guys that you're looking at down depth charts who could, step up in a pinch. But just wanted to throw that one out there.
Yeah, we don't really have details. I think he missed last year, the final week of the
He
season,
did.
with
He
a shoulder
missed. He
injury.
missed week 18 with a shoulder
Yeah,
injury,
so
and
you
I don't
wonder.
know if it's the same shoulder or related. I don't think they've reported that, or I haven't seen it, I should say.
Yeah, so kind of have to wait for more news, but it still means that it's possible that he could be ready for the start of the season. But like you said, he was a double-digit round
Yeah.
receiver anyway.
Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, it matters. It really
Oh,
does
it
matter.
does,
But
especially for
um,
the offense.
yeah,
Because
DJ Chark, Kaderil Hodge, Ray McLeod. Yeah, Kyle
this,
Pitts
I was
season.
just gonna say, now it's time for you to jump
Don't.
in on Kyle Pitts.
No, I really refuse. But it's understandable if you do want to get him, as he goes so late. I just like to be a little bit dramatic when it comes to Kyle Pitts. I'm not doing it. I refuse.
I'm open to doing it. It's just, again, because what are you risking? It's a
No, nothing. He
backup
goes
tight
so
end.
late. You're right.
There,
But I'm
there's
not going to do it.
there's nothing to lose there. I mean, you just
Dignity. We're talking about dignity, Adam.
and there's so many
Can't do
people
it
that
to
have
us
been
again.
burned by Kyle Pitts. They just are gonna look right past them.
He goes in the 13th round. Isaiah
Yeah,
Likely, those are the only two. And then, next round is Hunter Henry, Brenton Strange, two guys that I've taken a good amount of in the 14th round.
I would take Pitts over all of them again, especially if Moody is out. Like Pitts has the chance to be the number 2 target in this offense.
Okay, yes. Now that we have the Mooney news, maybe. I'm still taking Brenton Strange, Hunter Henry ahead of him.
Yeah, I will not do that.
I'll give you Isaiah Likely. That's where I draw the line.
I would take Pitts over him too.
Where do you draw? Okay, Dallas Goddard. Are you taking Kyle Pitts ahead of Dallas Goddard, Jake Ferguson?
I would take Ferguson higher.
Yes.
But I would take Pitts over Goddard. I've talked about this with Goddard. Like, he needs an injury to be
Yeah,
productive.
you never like Goddard.
Well, because look at that
I'm
offense.
kidding.
He needs one of those receivers to be down for him to be good. He's a better real life player. He doesn't score touchdowns. And, what are the receptions going to be? 55, 60? Okay, that's cool. Not going to get it's just there's no ceiling there for Goddard at all. He would need, again, the weeks that Brown or Smith are out, yeah, you're moving him up. But it's just not enough. So I'm
But yeah,
not taking a player where I need an injury to a receiver for him to be in my starting lineup. Does he have a high floor? Sure. If you're looking for 7, 8 points a week from your tight end, yeah, he can get you that, right? He's going to get 4 for 30, 4 for 45, 5 for 50 maybe on one week. But it's not going to happen with the way, even what I said, this offense is going to pass more, but it's going to benefit Brown and Smith more than Goddard. It's just the way
yeah.
this offense is designed, it's not there for Goddard in fantasy.
We have him projected for 78 targets this season. It's pretty good.
And how many
Change your
catches?
mind? No, well, we don't have to. We don't have to do that.
Yeah, see? There you go.
59,
Yeah,
a little under 650
and what?
receiving
3
yards.
or 4 touchdowns.
Stop. We don't have to go there.
Yeah.
Three.
Yeah, exactly. That like what does that do?
Just trying to say that you'll take him over Kyle Pitts, but it's not going to work. It's not going to work today, and I respect that a lot. Fantasylife.com. It's where you can go and look up all your Kyle Pitts stats, whatever you need. If you're drafting him, if you're not, we've got it all right there for projections, ADPs, all the good stuff. Make sure you use that code SXM20, gets you 20% off any Fantasy Life Plus subscription. Like I said, we've got the projections for fantasy football that you can go and check for the 2025 season. We've got the ADP tool, we've got the utilization suite live and running for season stats, game logs, the comparison tool. It is great. We use it every single day, every single segment on this show, I will say, is what I'm using. So we're going to continue. There's a lot left to talk about here today, Adam, but we're going to continue on. We're going to go through some of the trends that we've seen over the 2024 season. If we think those trends are going to continue with Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, Jahmyr Gibbs, we're going to go through some running backs here coming up next. Fantasy football is life. This is Fantasy Life right here on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. Kendall, Valenzuela, Adam Ronis with you. Adam, you got me on a tangent about Kyle Pitts, and we have phone calls, and you just led me down the path of talking about Kyle Pitts, and we left people hanging. We got to get to him.
Don't
I
blame me.
blame
We
you.
have
No, I
good
fully blame you.
conversation, and you're still the director of this ship, so you could have steered it towards the phone calls, and you didn't. So it's your
I
fault.
so apologize. I really do. Make sure if you're calling in, we won't skip you because we're talking about Kyle Pitts and ranking him ahead of Dallas Goedert. It won't happen again. 888-963-2682, the phone number to call in. Let's get to these phone calls, then we'll talk about trends from 2024. Let's go out to Hayes in Jacksonville. What do you got for us?
Hey, how you guys doing today?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing well. I have a keeper question. I can keep Devon Achane in the 5th round, Trey McBride in the 6th round, or Jane Daniels in the 10th round. I need 2 out of those 3.
All right, 2 out of
the pick of the round that I keep.
Okay. Those are good problems to have. So Adam, Achane in the 5th, McBride in the 6th, Daniels in the 10th, keep 2.
All right, this is difficult. McBride's an easy one to keep
Yes.
in round 6. No question about it. He likely will lead the team in targets once again, getting that elite tight end. Usually the problem is the cost, but you're talking round 6, you're getting a few rounds of value, so that's an easy one. I will go Achan in the
Will
5th.
you? Okay.
Yeah, you're going to go Daniel. Look, I understand if you want to take that elite quarterback round 10, it's a value, but Achan though, he has the ability to finish as a top 5 running back. I mean, all those targets he gets in that offense. He was, they had offensive line issues last year. It might not be that much better, but he can run between the tackles. Just the volume that he's going to get, especially in the passing game. If you're talking full point PPR, 78 receptions last year. I mean, that is just massive for a running back. Where again, it reminds me of Alvin Kamara early in his career. Yeah, HN only had 203 carries last year, but if you're going to get those receptions, it's just huge. So I'm going to go HN there. You're going to go Daniels, it sounds like.
Well, I was gonna go Daniel.
It's fine. Like, I can't.
No, I can't. I think both of them are good. I'm someone that if I find my elite quarterback and it's in that range where you're gonna be able to get him in that 10th round as that 10th rounder, I like the value there. But when you do look at the value of Achan the 5th compared to he goes on underdog in the 2nd, I think any other platform, Adam, he's gonna go in the 1st, because people are gonna look at him and if Christian McCaffrey doesn't stay healthy, Achan's going to be a top 3, top 4 running back this season, fantasy finisher. I mean, because Achan right now, I mean, the rushing yards is all right there, 908.5 in our projections. But like you said, 458 receiving yards. He's a difference maker. And so I like the quarterback. I always like to talk quarterbacks, and getting Jaden Daniels in the 10th, I think, is a value. But if you look at your here's how we can do this. If you look at your team and you have more needs at running back, you don't have any good guys behind him, then maybe you have to look at it and say, all right, I know what other people are going to do, what other guys are going to keep these running backs, and then I'd go Achan. But I like Daniels.
Yeah,
But
no,
you're
it's
right. Achan can finish as a top 3 running back this year.
No, he has that ability, especially if he can get a little bit more yards on the ground and the passing work remains the same. He was eighth in points per game in PPR formats last year, but that's with some running backs just having ridiculous seasons.
Yeah. That's a good, again, a good problem to have. So appreciate you calling in, Hayes. Let's do one more here and then get through some of the other stuff we're going to talk about. But let's go out to Mike in St. Louis. Mike, what do you got for us?
I'll try and make this quick. So I'm looking to add some depth at wide receiver. It's a 12-team super flex dynasty, and uh, Naylor and Ty Felton from Minnesota are both out there, and I was wondering if it would be worth adding them. Now, the issue is that I would have to drop someone. The options to drop would either be Hunt, I have Checo, Kirk Cousins, he's my fifth QB, or I have four tight ends currently in Ferguson, Goddard, Schultz, and Mason Taylor.
Hmm. When I hear that, first of all, I think Kirk is one maybe we hold on to Adam because again, I guess he could be a trade target. If I did I hear five tight ends though?
Four tight ends, you
Four
said.
tight ends? That
Yeah.
might be, but I don't know. Mason Taylor's a rookie, so in dynasty formats, there's always potential with some of those rookies. He has Hunt, he has Pacheco. Let's just start with the wide receiver depth between Naylor and Ty Felton. Are either of those names for you, Adam, somewhat one of the guys, that you'd say, I want to get him on my team. I'm going to drop one of these players that Mike just said, or not necessarily.
Yeah, he's probably, I'm assuming he's looking at it because Addison, the
Addison,
suspension.
Justin Jefferson, hamstring,
I
maybe.
guess that's
Naylor had a
true.
good Naylor
He
had a
did.
good
I mean, he would,
stretch last season.
yeah.
He would probably be the one that I would like. But then I look at Ty Felton, and again, he's a rookie, so
Hmm.
there's some value there.
Yeah, I agree with you though. Like on Cousins, you probably want to hold him in case he does get dealt.
Just in case.
Yeah,
I know the
Dalton
contract
Schultz.
situation is.
I probably wouldn't make any of those moves right now.
That's what I was gonna say. Are the names big enough, Naylor, Ty Felton, to drop any of those? Because it sounded like you had really good depth at tight end. I know Hunt we've talked about before. Pacheco, Kirk. You say no?
Yeah, I don't think I would. If you were to do anything, I guess it would be Schultz.
Yeah, you hate Schultz.
I don't
No, I'm
hate him,
kidding.
but
No,
like,
I'm kidding. Kirk was the first one that I thought of, but now that I'm thinking about it, there's probably going to be some kind of quarterback injury. I know his contract situation's just really, really gross, but if a team gets really desperate, couldn't you see Kirk Cousins on the move?
oh yeah, if
I
there's
could.
like that's what I'm sure that's probably what he wants as well.
Yeah, Mike.
Go to
Mike's
his
like, please. We don't want injuries, but if it was and Kirk Cousins was able to get a starting job again, yeah. So I would say no to any of them, but I understand Naylor just because of the Jordan Addison potential suspension and now Justin Jefferson with a hamstring. It's good. It's good thoughts though.
Or I guess I mean we didn't hear the other four quarterbacks. Maybe it is Kirk
Yeah.
Cousins, like depending on who the other four quarterbacks are.
Okay, so
But
maybe
I guess
Dalton
he's worried
Schultz.
that someone will immediately grab him.
Yeah, probably. So maybe Dalton Schultz, if there was any name to go to, maybe it's him because he had what would we say, four tight ends?
Yes, he had
Yeah.
four.
Yeah, that'd be the one. Appreciate you calling in, Mike. Again, 888-963-2682 is the phone number to call in, and we will make sure to not miss your phone calls talking about Kyle Pitts. It will never happen again, Adam. I'll say that confidently right now. But
Don't say that because there could be early in the
maybe
season and Pitts is doing very well, and you're like,
don't.
oh, why didn't I draft him? He was so.
I'll be
I
okay with
could have
it.
gotten him in round 13,
I'll
and
go
now
to
my
I'll
starting
sleep
tight
at
end is
night just the
hurt.
same. It'll be fine. You know what trends could continue, or I'm curious. You see what I did there? It's like
Yeah,
mid-season form
very
right now.
good.
Look at what could continue is Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley. Wanted to talk about these two running backs. We talked about Saquon. I mean, listen, we understand Saquon Barkley. If you want to take him at the 101, we're never going to fault you for that. Bijan Robinson has been one that stepped up, and some people are taking Bijan ahead of Saquon. But when I look at Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, two of the guys that really, when they changed teams last season, if you had them, you were really happy fantasy managers because they went and put in work. Derrick Henry, 5.9 yards per attempt, 19.1 attempts per game, 5.8 for Saquon Barkley, 21.6 attempts per game. it's the bigger question for me, Adam, when we look at these guys, they each carried the ball over 300 times during the season. When we talk about regression, we've talked a lot about maybe potential wide receivers coming down from touchdowns, potential, quarterbacks and maybe the sophomore slump. When we look at these two as elite fantasy running backs, do you feel the same way where they're going in drafts? You're still okay with Derrick Henry's going one of the first few picks in the second round. And then, of course, we know Saquon Barkley's like the fourth guy off the board. Sometimes if people push him back, he'll make it to the fifth. But usually we see them go in that range. Are you still okay with both of those guys from the carries that they had last season, the workload that they had, taking them in that range?
You have to be concerned. Now with Barkley, every it seems like there is concern because
I know.
if you look at Barkley, his stats, where's he drafted next season? Oh, easily top three, probably one. And it's not happened. I have seen Barkley fall to the 8-9 spot.
I
So
have never there's not been a running back that I've remembered that the tune has totally switched from this past season to this year because it's always CMC. Of course, he's going to be the 101, but Saquon, I don't know if it's the Madden cover. I
no,
know it's the workload. People
yes,
look at the
people have
workload and
looked
they get
they've
concerned.
just looked at the history of running backs that have had the volume he has, and the next year they almost all fall off. So that's really it. That's what the biggest issue is. And I will say if there's anyone that might be able to overcome that, it is Saquon Barkley.
I
But,
agree.
again, history has not been kind to a player coming off that workload, which is why like I don't have him as my RB1. If someone wants to take him, fine. He's 28 years old, but it is a massive workload. Now, he also didn't get hit as much as some other running backs. He had so much open space. You mentioned the 5.8 yards per
Yep.
carry. So I think that's what people are worried about. They're just worried about, okay, is he going to be healthy the entire season? And more than likely, yes, the numbers are going to decline. He's 2005 rushing yards. So, yeah, it's going to decline. The question is, how much is it going to decline?
125.3 rushing yards per
Insane.
game.
It's just insane. Like every week you'd look at his
43.3
rushing prop,
more.
like, oh, it's too
It's
high. I can't play it. And he'd crush it like in the
He was
second quarter.
amazing. He averaged the receiving volume's interesting though. If we talk about a team that we think is going to have to pass a little bit more with Jalen Hurts, and we didn't have to do that last season. And maybe we have to see them change their tune just a little bit. But Barkley averaged a career low 4.6 PPR points per game as a pass catcher last season. Not a huge surprise when we look at total targets and everything else that goes into those running backs. But he was good. It was the goal line work as well. Hertz had the league's third most rush attempts from inside the 5 yard line last season with 18. Barkley was still there, 13, which is 11th overall. But there are concerns. It's just if he falls to me, would you say eighth pick? I'm
I've,
taking
s-
him. I'm
yeah,
taking him every time.
I would too. Like there becomes a point where you're like, okay, he's falling too far. But again, if you are under the belief and based on the history and the workload, so you see the players the year after, there are going to be some people just like, I'm going to cross him off the list. But a lot of people were all out on Barkley last year, and obviously burned many of those drafters because a lot of the concern was, well, he's not going to be involved in the passing game enough, and he wasn't. But
Mhm.
boy, they gave him a massive workload. Like, I don't think anyone envisioned 345 carries. Like they just built the offense around him and Hurts and said, all right, we're just going to dominate on the ground. And they absolutely did. So he's not going to repeat those numbers. But everyone is worried about what we've seen with running backs who have that 400 plus touches. The next year, you just go through the list, it looks bad. But there's always outliers. And the question is Barkley the outlier where not 2,000 rushing yards again, but
No.
you'd be happy with 1,400 rushing yards, 12 touchdowns, 13 touchdowns. And remember, he also went down at the one a lot last year, which turned into Jalen Hurts touchdowns.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I said. Like Jalen Hurts took away again. He
And
had
he
the
will. He'll
league's
continue
third
to.
most rush attempts from inside the 5 yard line. Like if Saquon goes in, then we're having a whole different conversation. But I I agree with people being a little bit worried. And here's the thing. I'll also understand if people want to look at Bijan Robinson or if they want to look at I guess I could say Ashton Genty because the reality is that with Bijan Robinson, Ashton Genty, they could project for similar volume, but they're younger. And you could look at Bijan Robinson especially and say, I like this potential more. He's younger, and he's not coming off the campaign that Saquon Barkley is. But if there's ever one running back, Adam, that I'm not necessarily going to turn on and say, oh, well, it's, Saquon Barkley feels like he could be the running back that just defies all our past, projections and everything like that. Cause he's just so good. And I understand he went all the way, they went into February. We were all there. We watched the games. But we're still projecting him 291 and a half rush attempts. Like you said, the yards are coming down. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. 1,362 rushing yards, 10 touchdowns on the ground, and then 250 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns through the air. That still is good for an RB2 finish behind Bijan Robinson.
And maybe some people say I'm going to take the wide receivers over him. Okay, but there comes a point like you can't push him that far down the running back board. So looking at drafts since July 21st in the NFFC Online Championship, he's gone as late as 10.
I can't. Can you take Puka Nacua ahead of Saquon Barkley?
No.
I don't think I can. I can take CD, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. And
I could take Gibbs ahead of him.
Okay, yeah, I was just going to say, and Jahmyr Gibbs. But once we get to Christian McCaffrey, I can't do it.
Yeah, so McCaffrey has gone as early as 6 and as late as 20.
Which we knew was going to happen.
McCaffrey is going to wind up going in the first round of many drafts. There's always going to be someone who's really optimistic and pushes him higher because their view is going to be like, well, he's healthy now. We've seen when he is healthy that he can be the RB1 overall. San Francisco is going to need him in this offense. So there's always going to be people that have that mindset.
It's not going to be me. I don't think.
I don't think it'll be me. Like I said, if I had 10 teams, I would probably want McCaffrey on 1. That's it. Just in case. Yeah. But
just in case.
So if I have 1, 2, he will not be on my team.
Well, I want to continue on here because I do want to finish up and see if we're on the same page about Derrick Henry. And I do want to talk about Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, our expectations for them with the trends that we saw last season. We're going to go through those names here coming up right after this. Kendall, Valenzuela, Adam Ronis with you right here, Fantasy Life. Make sure you're using that promo code SXM20. Gets you 20% off any Fantasy Life Plus Tier 1 or Tier 2 subscription. When we're talking about our projections, I'm using that right now on the website that you can go and look at from Dwain McFarland and from Matthew Friedman as well. So fantasylife.com to go and check it out. Just to wrap up our trends conversation, because we just talked about Saquon Barkley, what we're assuming will still be a phenomenal season. If you want to take Bijan Robinson ahead of him, that's fine. Jahmyr Gibbs for some other people, but he's still going to be a great running back. You don't need us to tell you that. You feel the same way about Derrick Henry? Still think that he is undervalued, underrated? Again, he's expensive. He's going right at the turn, so he's going pick 12, 13, 14, 15. I could also just look at the numbers right under his name, but I wanted to, count manually, Adam. It's fine. Pick 15 off the board. Like I said, the third pick in the second round. What are your expectations with Henry? You think it's going to be the same workload?
More than likely, maybe a little less. I mean, he's 31 years old. A lot of people have doubted Derrick Henry every single year, and they wind up losing.
Every year,
right?
Yes.
So at some point, age catches up to everyone. We talked about Henry, and last year he changed like his off the field regimen. It clearly worked. He definitely seems like an outlier. I actually have not drafted him yet, not because I'm avoiding him. Just like think in that range. I love the receivers, like because to me there's a big drop off at the wide receiver position in a couple of spots. The top guys, and then after those middle rounds. So I just feel more confident in finding value running backs in the middle to late rounds this year, especially in some ambiguous backfields where things could change. So it's not like, oh, I'm avoiding Henry. I think if it's the middle of the second round and a lot of those receivers I'm looking for are gone, and I already started with the receiver, then I'm open to taking Henry. But man, the numbers he put up last year were insane. But look, we talked about it. I mean, one of the first, we did like a test show and we were like in love with Derrick Henry. Like we both agreed on it. because it was the perfect marriage. It was easy to see. You're putting him behind one of the better offensive lines, a quarterback in Lamar Jackson, who obviously draws attention with his ability to run. And Henry was playing behind a really bad offensive line his last couple years in Tennessee. And some people looked and said, oh, look at the numbers. They're going down. And Derrick Henry says, all right, put me in Baltimore. Yeah, this is going to work. 5.9 yards per carry, the highest of his career. That's likely to come down. And I would also think they would want to scale back the workload a little bit, right? Because they're thinking championship and postseason. So do you want to
Yeah.
overwork them in the regular season?
Yeah, I could see it, but also like we've talked about how why would we change a good thing? And I think Derrick Henry again, you said it. It was the worst kept secret in the NFL that the Ravens wanted Derrick Henry and it was a match made in heaven. Like you see what he was able to do and it's been one of the league's best offenses in terms of running back yards before contact per carry, something that we saw the Titans never really gave him. And so you see the numbers that he was able to rack up. I understand we've just had this conversation about Saquon, the history of 30 plus running backs putting up really good fantasy football numbers after, having the touches that he had. It's tough and that's understandable, but it just again, Derrick Henry feels like one that he's going to not perform when he decides to call it a career. Like that's just how I feel at him. It's just he hasn't shown us any sort of decline. So it feels like to me when I look at Derrick Henry, unless it's an injury, it feels like it's really hard to see him, bust in fantasy football from where you're taking him right now. Unless it's an injury, which of course could happen because he's an older running back and he's coming off a really big season, a really big workload. But I still like him and he's projected for an RB6 finish from us.
Yeah, like there's you would think it was working. You're going to stick with it. They're run heavy. The age, I guess, is the biggest factor.
Yeah.
But people have been saying that about Henry the last couple of years and staying away. They've been burned. Obviously, one of these years they are going to be correct. Uh,
It's when he retires. That's when they'll be correct.
really? You think?
Yeah, I don't know. But here's the thing. I understand prioritizing younger running backs. I
Yeah.
will not fault anyone that looks at Achan, that looks at Ashton Genty, that looks at Jameer Gibbs and says, you know what, if I'm going to do this in this range, we've talked about, the way that you're looking at your draft. If you want to have an anchor running back, a hero RB approach, and that's the strategy that you go for, Derrick Henry is in that elite category where he is someone that you can get in the second round, anchor your team to him. But again, I'm not going to fault anyone, Adam, if they want to go younger with guys that are going to at least are projected to have the same amount of rushing attempts, same amount of touches. I get it.
Yeah, betting against Henry has often resulted in losses. So one of these years it will happen. Uh, I if there's any running back though that can defy the odds, it's clearly Derrick Henry. After what we saw
Yeah.
last year, what we've seen throughout his career. Remember too, he didn't have massive workloads early in his career. Like the first few years in the league, he didn't really get the ball much. It wasn't until he was 25 when he had his first 300 carry season. So, and he's just built differently. He's
He
massive,
is.
and
He eats right,
yeah,
all that good stuff.
what he's done off the field. So, and a lot of times he's not even being touched now on Baltimore,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So you could
No, it's
say
true.
a lot of these carries, like he's not really getting hit. So that does help.
Yeah, that helps a lot. Ravens, the Super Bowl favorites for this season so far, plus 650. I'm looking at it over there. So we'll
Uh,
see. We'll see. They need to stop.
one of these years we'll see,
Yeah,
right?
hopefully. Well, yeah, that's gonna between them and the Bills, we need to see it pretty soon here. All right, we're gonna continue on. ADPs that don't compute. This was an article at fantasylife.com just talking about some ADPs that we think maybe don't make sense for where they're going. And we're gonna give you those names here coming up right after this. As always, appreciate everyone hanging out with us on this Monday. Hopefully, you had a great weekend. We are here getting you ready for all things fantasy drafts coming up quickly. Adam, you've got drafts this weekend. I've got drafts going on right now. It's the best time.
Yeah, a
Really is.
couple, and I know some best ball slow drafts still going, but yeah, I have the Flex League draft this weekend,
Oh, that'll be so
Saturday.
fun.
Both of
Does that
them.
mean I have the flex draft this weekend? No.
Well, probably not. These are the
No,
two live in New York City. It'll be
that's right.
broadcast here on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. The draft that I'm not in, which is the Superflex, I'll be broadcasting. And then my draft is the one quarterback league. I think my draft is first at 11 a.m. Eastern, and then I'll be broadcasting at 1. So I better eat well.
That's awesome. It'll be great. It'll be fantastic. And yeah, everyone should check that out. And right here, make sure you keep it locked. Right here, Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. You've got RotoWire Fantasy Sports today with Jeff Erickson and Nick Whalen here coming up next. You'll do great. I'm usually in the single QB online though. I'm jealous. You get to be around people drafting in person. There's nothing better.
Yeah, it's always a good time. We do so many drafts online now that in-person experience is always the best. And you see people that sometimes you only see once a year. So it's good camaraderie. And I have been in the super flex draft for several years. And this,
Gonna have to change it up.
yeah, they had to switch it up, I guess, So I do enjoy the super flex. It's a different strategy, because I don't play in many of those. So all my leagues too pretty much have different setups as well. So this, yeah, because this one has no kickers or defense. I think now.
Good. I like that.
Yeah.
Is
So
it?
yeah, the different formats, variety, it definitely, it helps too when you're giving out advice too.
I was gonna say it helps when we're doing this for a living. So let me ask you one ADP that I'm curious if you agree with with this one or not. But maybe your quarterback that you can target, Jordan Love,
I
maybe
agree with the
18
ADP.
ADP.
I think
Okay,
it's
you do agree with
fair.
that.
Again, there's a lot of good quarterbacks in that range, so I think it's a fair range. You're Some people might say it's a bargain because of what he did 2 years ago when he was healthy,
Mhm.
and we know last year he was not. He got hurt in that first game in Brazil, was never 100%, had a couple of injuries, and they went run heavy. So I see the opposing viewpoint, like, yeah, that's a bargain. He has shown that he can be a QB1, but I think that's the appropriate price. Just again, there's a lot of other quarterbacks that are appealing.
Points per game 27.1 for the Green Bay Packers last season, 18th, and then points per game against 19.9, which was sixth. I don't mind Jordan Love in that price for sure. Again, appreciate everyone hanging out with us. Stick around. RotoWire Fantasy Sports today is coming up next. We'll see you same time here tomorrow.